All right, what's up, guys? So, did a video a couple days ago talking about how Israel has expanded its operations and stepped up operations in the West Bank. They're blaming it on Iranian proxies, and they're trying to go after Palestinian militant groups. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think the policy that Harris is indicating she will do if she wins. And I gotta say, it doesn't look good. I'll just be real. I don't expect anything to change. So we'll take a quick look at what she said at the DNC, what she said in the much anticipated interview with CNN and Dana Bash, and then I'll react.
And America, we must also be steadfast in advancing our security and values abroad. As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world.
Okay, so this first part annoys me for several reasons. The first of which being her going we're going to have the most lethal military force in the world. We already have the most lethal force on earth. We already spend more money than any other country in the world on the military, and it's not even close. Okay? We spend more than 50% of our discretionary budget goes towards defense. Joe Biden got out of Afghanistan and they still upped the military budget by another $60 billion the next year. So it doesn't matter. They're always going to give more and more and more money to defense spending. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of people here in the United States are actually homeless. Most people are not covered properly for healthcare. The number one cause of bankruptcy is medical debt. But they're going to spend more and more money on the military because we have to have the most powerful military in the entire world. Take a look at a little bit more here.
I will make sure that we lead the world into the future on space and artificial intelligence, that America, not China, wins the competition for the 21st century, and that we strengthen, not abdicate, our global leadership.
Okay, so this is another part that kind of bothers me, the whole idea that the world is a competition that we need to win. Now, don't get me wrong, I want us to have the best technology in the world. I want us to have a strong military. What I can't stand is this idea that we're fighting with China over having the best this and that. If the world competition was on having the best healthcare in the world, we're losing. If the competition was on having the best infrastructure in the world, we're losing. And this idea that we have to lead the world in space is we already kind of do. And so I just wish the focus was more on things here that would help people here, like infrastructure, healthcare, that kind of thing. Let's look at a little bit more. Here she's going to start going into what the policy towards Israel would be, and this is where things just really get worse.
With respect to the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
Okay, so I did say in a previous segment that she sounded like she might be slightly better on the issue of Israel, based on one of the things that she said in one of her rally speeches where there were some protesters that were screaming at her, and she basically acknowledged them. It was a little bit of a better response than we've gotten previously, where she basically told the protesters, you just keep on protesting if you want Trump to win. Really a poor reaction. But here she just sounds like Joe Biden. She sounds like everybody else. This idea of we have to give Israel the weapons because they have the right to defend themselves. It's it's always Israel that has the right to defend itself. But the Palestinians don't have a right to anything. Okay. And like, I'm going to get into the numbers here in just a second, and you're going to see how lopsided this is and just how unforgivable the numbers are in Gaza right now to still hold this position. And this right here is the part that really chaps my ass whenever they say Israel has a right to defend itself. So this is the most recent numbers from Euromed Monitor, the human rights organization. So here, the big things you got to remember are right here. 49,032 people have been killed. This number includes those presumed dead under the rubble. 44,180 of those are civilians. 16,164 of those killed have been children. 10,399 have been women. And then these are the percentages. So you're talking about over 54% of those killed in Gaza so far have been women and children. 94,100 have been injured. Okay, so whenever they do this whole thing about like, oh, Israel has a right to defend itself, it's October 7th was bad, okay? 1,200 people were killed on October 7th. That's unforgivable. That's inexcusable. But what we're talking about right now is over 40 times the number of Palestinians have been killed in response to that attack on October 7th. And then you're also looking about this. Over 90% of the population has been forcibly displaced. 172 journalists have been killed. This is the most deadly conflict for journalists ever. 1,240 healthcare professionals have been either killed or injured. These are people trying to take care of those who have been caught in the crossfire. So this is not them going after Hamas, okay, guys? This is absolutely a genocide. And if you're not talking about that in these terms, you're just not being honest.
At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety over and over again. The scale of suffering is heartbreaking. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
Guys, this has been the exact same tune that Joe Biden has been singing for the past 11 months. And he continues to give more and more and more to Israel. They just approved another $20 billion to go to Israel. Now, if we were talking about something that actually helped people here, like healthcare, for example, it's always a shriek about how you're going to pay for it. And by the way, Israelis get healthcare. Like, they have universal healthcare. Okay? So that aside, they will always approve more money and more weapons to go to help people anywhere else if it is some sort of benefit to the United States, which in terms of Israel, it's to have that foothold in the Middle East. But what she's saying is, I'm not going to change policy on Israel. Okay, finally, we're going to take a look at the interview that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz did with Dana Bash on CNN. She's
unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this, to the families, to the people who are living in that region. A deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8th to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution, where Israel is secure and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Okay, so in short, no change in policy. And you'll notice too that Dana Bash, actually, credit to her, she stuck with it. The original question was, will you stop shipping weapons to Israel? That's what the people on the progressive left would actually like to see in terms of moving towards an end to the conflict. And she dodged the question. And then Dana Bash followed up and said, so no change in policy on weapons shipments to Israel. And she again dodged the question, which is politicians speak for, no, we're going to continue to give all of the weapons to Israel. The unfortunate reality is if Trump is president, it would be even worse. Trump has even said verbatim, I would let Israel finish the job. That's a direct quote. Okay, so we don't have really any good options besides somebody like Jill Stein, who is a third-party candidate. And unfortunately, the way that elections are set up in this country, third parties are pretty much locked out of the duopoly. They really don't have a chance. Ross Perot, famously, was one of the most successful independent candidates to ever run for president. He won like 19% of the vote, and he got 0 electoral college votes. So I'm not going to tell anybody who to vote for. I think that, unfortunately, between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, there's really not going to be any kind of distinguishable difference on what's going on in Gaza. All right, guys, really appreciate you checking it out. Please remember, like and subscribe to the videos. It helps get it out to more people. It helps the channel grow, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.